society.
Text 3 and 4. Narupamasyeham tathopalapyate nanto nachardin sasampratishta ashwastamena subirudhamula matsanga shastrena dridena chitva tata padam tat parimargatavyam yasman gatana nirvitanti bhuya तमेव चाद्यं पुरुषं प्रपद्ये यत प्रवृत्ति प्रसुता पुराणे.
The real form of this tree cannot be perceived in this world. No one can understand where it ends, where it begins, or where its foundation is. But with determination, one must cut down this strongly rooted tree with the weapon of detachment. Thereafter, one must seek that place from which, having gone, one never returned, and there surrendered to that supreme personality of Godhead from sorry is my dog. Whom everything began and from whom everything has extended since time immemorial. Sorry, Prabhuji.
Nirvana moha jita sanga dosha adhyatma nitya vinivruta kama dvandeir vimukta sukha dukha sangai garchantya mura padam vyam tat.
Those who are free from false presenting illusion and false association, who understand the internal, who are done with material lust, who are freed from the dualities of happiness and distress, and who bewildered are known how to surrender unto the supreme person, attain to that entire kingdom. Sorry, Mataji.
Text 6. Na tadrasyate suryo na shashanko na pavaka yatatva vartante taddam paramam mama.
The supreme abode of mind is not illuminated by the sun or moon, nor by fire or electricity. Those who reach it never return to this material world.
Text 7. Mamaivansho jivaloke jivabhuta sanatana manashashtani indriyani prakriti sthani karshati.
The living entities in this conditioned world are my internal fragmental parts due to conditioned life. They are struggling very hard with the sixth sense, which including the mind.
Text 8. Shariram yada vapnoti yajapyutra kamam kramatishvara gruhitaivaitani sanyati vayurgandhani vashayat.
The living entity in the material world carries his different uh, conception of life from one body to another, as the air carries aromas. Those he takes one kind of body and again again quits it to take another.
Text 9. Kshotram chakshu sparshanam cha rasanam granameva cha adhishtaya manaschayam vishayanupasevate.
The living entity, those taking another gross body, obtain a certain type of ear, eye, tongue, nose, and sense of touch, which are grouped about the mind. He thus enjoys a particular set of sense objects.
Text 10. Uttakramantamasti. No, it's not. Uttakramantam stitam vayapi bhujanam va gunanvitam vimudhananu pashyanti gnana chakshusha.
The foolish cannot understand how a living entity can quiet his body, nor can they understand what a sort of body enjoys under the spell of the mood, modes of nature. But one whose eyes are trained in knowledge can see all this.
Text 11. Yatanto yogi naschainam pashyantayatmanavyasthitam yatantopyakrutatmanonainam pashyant. It's not a rag. Yatanto yoge naschainam pashyantayatmanavyasthitam yatanto krupa krutatmanau nainam pashyantya chetasa.
The end devouring uh, transcendentalists who are situated self-realization can see all this clearly, but those whose minds are not developed and who are not situated in self-realization cannot see what is taking place, though they may try.
Text 12. Yadadikatyam tejo jagadbhasyase tekhilam yachandramasi yajjagnau tatejo vidhi mamakam.
The splendor of a sun which dissipates the darkness of this whole world comes from me, and the splendor of the moon and the splendor of fire are also from me. Thank you.
Text 13. Gama vishya bhutani dharamyam hamojasa pushpami chaudasi sarva somo bhutva rasatmakah.
I enter into each planet, and by my energy they in orbit. I become the moon, and thereby supply the juice of life to all vegetables.
Text 14. Aham Vaishvanaro Bhutva Praninam Dehamashrita Pranapana Samayuktam Panchamyanam Chaturvidam.
I am the fire of digestion in the bodies for all living entities, and I join with the air of life outgoing and incoming to digest the four kind of food stuff.
Text 15. सर्वस्य चाहं हृदि सन्निविष्टो मत्तः स्मृतिज्ञानमं पोहनं च वेदैश्च सर्वैर्हरमेव वैद्यो वेदान्तकृदेदविदेव चाहम्.
I am seated in everyone's heart, and from me come remembrance, knowledge, and for forgetful. By all the Vedas, I am to be known. Indeed, I am the compiler of Vedas, and I am the knower of the Vedas.
Text 16. द्वामीमो पुरुषो लोके क्षरक्षाक्षर एव च क्षर सर्वाणि भूतानि कूटस्थोऽक्षर उच्यते.
There are two classes of beings, the fallible and the infallible. In the material world, every living entity is fallible, and in the spiritual world, every living entity is called infallible.
Text 17. उत्तमः पुरुस्तावन्यः परमात्मेत्युदाहत यो लोकत्रयामाविश्य विभर्तव्यय ईश्वर.
Beside these two, there is the greatest living personality, the Supreme Soul, the impressible Lord Himself, who has entered the three worlds and maintaining them.
Text 18. यस्मात् क्षरमतीतोऽहं क्षरादापि चोत्तम अतोऽस्मि लोके वेदे च प्रथितः पुरुषोत्तम.
Because I am a oh good, I can't pronounce this one. Transcendentalist, beyond both the fallible and the infallible, and because I am the greatest, I am celebrated both in the world and in the Vedas as that supreme person.
Text 19. यो मामे स्वसम्मूढो जानाति पुरुषोतो मम यः सर्वभजिति मा सर्वभावेन भारत.
Whoever knows me as supreme personality of Godhead without doubt beating in doubting is the knower of everything. He therefore energizes himself in full devotional service to me, O son of Partha.
Text 20. इति गुह्यतं शास्त्रम् इदमुक्तं मया नघ एतद्वत्वा बुद्धिमानस्य कृतश्च भारत.
This is the most confidential part of the Vedic scripture, O sinless one, and it is disclosed now by me. However, understands this will become wise, and his endeavors will non-perfection.
Om Tatsat Sri Srimad Bhagavad Gita Shu Upanishatsu Brahma Vidya Yogeshware Sastre Shri Krishna Arjuna Samvade Purushottama Yoga Nama Panchadashodhyaya. Hare Krishna. Please
Hey.
forgive me for any mispronunciation, Prabhuji and devotee.
Oh no, it was fine, Prabhupada
Same
Mataji.
thing with me.
Thank you.
Prabha Mataji. You done very well.
Jagiri Mataji, thank you for the effort. I know you were struggling.
Sorry.
No, don't worry. Don't worry. At least you made the effort.
Sorry is my yeah.
You made the effort, and that is what counts. You tried to read the English translation, and some of the words were difficult, but at least you made the effort, and that's what Krishna wants to see. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you,
And
Prabhuji.
Prabhupada Mataji, your
And
pronunciation.
sorry for all mistake.
No problem at all. Please, Jagiri Mataji, no need to apologize. And
Thank you.
Jagiri Mataji, your pronunciation was fine. I think you lost a meter in between. Once
Yes,
you
Prabhuji.
got a meter back, then you were fine again. So
Yes,
that,
Prabhuji.
thank you so much.
Oh, thank
Thank
you, and thank you for giving me chance, and thank you, Rasi Mataji, to encourage me as well. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Okay. Let's now on to today's verse.
Oh, I did one.
Okay. So today we're going to focus on 12th verse, 15:12. So we just recite it just once again. Yadatitya gatam tejo jagat vasayate khilam yat chandramasi yat chagnau tat tejo vidimamakam. Translation and Prabhupada ki jai. The splendor of the sun, which dissipates the darkness of this world, comes from me, and the splendor of the moon and the splendor of fire are also from me. Prabhupada, we got two paragraphs, a short one and a long one. So I'm just looking at my screen. So perhaps we can get, is there Deepak Prabhu? I can see Deepak here. If you can unmute yourself, you can read the first paragraph. And then Chandra Chaitanya Prabhu, you can unmute and read the second one.
Okay, thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you.
The unintelligent cannot understand how things are taking place, but one can begin to be established in knowledge by understanding that the Lord explains here. Everyone sees the sun, moon, fire, and electricity. One should simply try to understand that the splendor of the sun, the splendor of the moon, and the splendor of electricity or fire are coming from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In such a conception of life, the beginning of Krishna consciousness lies a great deal of advancement for the conditioned soul in the material world. The living entities are essentially the parts and parcels of the Supreme Lord, and he's giving you with the hint how they can come back to Godhead, back to home.
Thank you, Deepak Prabhu. That was very nice, very fluent. Chandra Chaitanya Prabhu, can you hear me? Okay. In that case, perhaps Deepak Prabhu, you can continue.
Sure. Thank you, Prabhu. From this verse, we can understand that the sun is illuminating the whole solar system. There are different universes and solar systems, and there are different suns, moons, and planets also. But in each universe, there's only one sun. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 10.21, the moon is one of the stars. Nakastradam sasi. Sunlight is due to spiritual effulgence in the spiritual sky of the Supreme Lord. With the rise of the sun, the activities of human beings are set up. They set fire to prepare their foodstuff. They set fire to start the factories, etc. So many things are done with the help of fire. Therefore, sunrise, fire, and moonlight are so pleasing to the living entities. Without their help, no living entity can live. So if one can understand that the light and splendor of the sun, moon, and fire are emanating from the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, then one's Krishna consciousness will begin. By the moonshine, all the vegetables are nourished. The moonshine is also pleasing. The people can easily understand that they are living by the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna. Without his mercy, there cannot be sun. Without his mercy, there cannot be moon. And without his mercy, there cannot be fire. And without the help of sun, moon, and fire, no one can live. These are some thoughts to provoke Krishna consciousness in the conditioned soul.
Thank you so much, Deepak Prabhu. Thank you. Very nicely read. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So I'll just go to the presentation. Okay. Om Ajnanati Mirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishnam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Charu Swami Niti Namine Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Sarasvate Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Bhashyatari Sutarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Kaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So, chapter 15, as usual, we'll just go through the summary quickly. The first 5 slokas spoke about the detachment from the world, the wonderful analogy about the banyan tree, and then the instructions about how to detach. And then finally, the eligibility in text 5. Then 6 to 11, up to yesterday, it was transmigration. Krishna first explains the identity of a living entity, being part and parcels of the Lord, and then how the soul transmigrates, and how the self-realized souls can see this, but those who are not self-realized cannot see this. That's where we got to. Today we start a mini section which is about how Krishna is a maintainer of the body, mind, and soul. Very, very nice section this. So we'll start with this. We've done the verse already. We'll just recite the translation once again just to remind ourselves. The splendor of the sun, which dissipates the darkness of this whole world, comes from me. And the splendor of the moon and the splendor of fire also come from me. So this verse and the next 3 or 4 verses would speak about how Krishna supplies us, how Krishna is omnipotent, and how he supplies everything that is needed for the human beings. Now, someone may ask, what suddenly from talking about transmigration, how come Krishna is suddenly talking about the sun and the moon and the fire? So, in the last verse, Krishna is saying that only the self-realized souls can understand this, and those whose minds are not developed, they cannot, even if they try to. This is what he said. So the question may be that, so what happens? How do I get to that stage of self-realization? So this is where he gives us this hint. He says to us, now, first of all, for the beginners, we have to start seeing Krishna in what our material senses can see. Because the spiritual knowledge, high spiritual knowledge, will not come straight away because we are not used to seeing which our senses cannot perceive. So we start off with this. We can see the sun, we can see the fire, we can see the moon. So Krishna says, I am the splendor of all these 3. So once we start to get to that consciousness that, look, this sun, whenever you see the sun or even sunlight, you think of Krishna. Whenever you see the moon and the moonshine, you think of Krishna. Whenever you see fire, you think of Krishna. So this is Prabhupada says, this is the beginning of our Krishna consciousness. Everything then starts from there. You start to at least have that little faith. And from that faith, everything begins. And this way, by appreciating Krishna in the material world, we then begin to find a way to untangle ourselves from this web of the banyan tree, or rather the reflection of the banyan tree. So this is the reason why this mini section is there. So the main points. This is just for the purpose of the unintelligent cannot understand how things are taking place, but one who can begin to be established in knowledge by understanding what the Lord explains here. Sorry, but one can begin to be established in knowledge by understanding what the Lord explains here. So in this verse, Lord Krishna is saying that the entire creation is a manifestation. Imagine, because the sun, moon, and the fire. So this way, he's explaining the entire creation actually is the manifestation of his energy. And this is confirmed in the 9th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, 9:10. Anybody know this verse? Maya dakshana prakriti suyate sa characharam hetunanena konteya jagat viparivartate. Krishna saying in that verse, the material nature, which is one of my energies, is working under my direction, O son of Kunti, producing all moving and non-moving beings. Under his rule, that this manifestation is created and annihilated again and again. So these energies, Krishna has got multifarious energies. So some of the energies mentioned, first of all, the whole material world is his energy, but then singling out the sun, the moon, and the fire are his energies. So then we need to, Prabhupada says, understand that the splendor of the sun emanates from the Lord, from Krishna. We can all see the sun, we can all appreciate the power of the sun. The sun has been burning and emitting this energy to the universes, to the planets rather, every second. And it is said that every second of this energy emitted by the sun is equivalent to millions of nuclear power stations put together. So just imagine the power. And this sun has been burning for millions of years, billions of years perhaps, right? So now we have the experience here that if you have a pile of wood and you burn it, after a while, no matter how big that pile is, it will all be down to ashes, and then the fire will be out. But here we can see that there is absolutely no diminution in the power of the sun. It's been going on uninterrupted. Right now we think, okay, the sun is not here, he's taking rest, but of course he's not. He's giving sunshine to somewhere else, he's giving heat and light to somewhere else. So there is no rest. Continuously, 24/7, for millions and billions of years, it has been emitting heat and light, but it's not burning out. It's not finishing, it's not even getting less. So this shows that it is not something of the material nature. Of course, it is in the material nature, but its power is coming from something superior. Its power, its energy is coming from Krishna. Otherwise, if it was just a material, even if there's a big hill, right, it can burn down, it can be destroyed. A huge tree can be destroyed, whatever, a big building can be destroyed. Anything material will be destroyed just after maximum 1 or 2 days of fire. But this is how we understand that yes, Krishna is there in his energy in the sun. The glory and brilliance of the sun is part of God's wonderful creation. There is no other way to explain this. Scientists cannot understand. They can't even fathom anything about the sun. They know it's there. They know it's giving heat and light. They know how far it is. They can calculate all that. They say it's 93 million miles away. They know, but they can't explain how it is just burning and burning and burning, and yet not exhausting. But they, of course, the scientists will never admit to anything transcendental. For them, everything has to be just material. So they don't accept it. The sun provides illumination, and with the Prabhupada says, with the rise of the sun, all activities begin. So you can see, right? Everybody's there. Doesn't matter where you live in the world, your day begins when the sun rises. Because until the sun rises, everybody takes rest. And when the sun rises, everything starts. Even not just the human beings, Even the birds, at night, you don't hear them. You don't even see them. They're in the nests taking rest. And as soon as morning arrives, as soon as, even for the birds, even a little bit before sunrise, they're up chirping away. So everything begins, all the activities begin with the sun rising. So sunlight is sometimes equated to Krishna's Sudarshan Chakra. So Sudarshan, Su means Su means the best or the better or very nice, Su. And Darshan, of course, means vision. So auspicious vision, that's the translation of Sudarshan. And that Sudarshan Chakra is also sometimes equated to the moon, to the sun, sunlight. It also emits a lot of brightness. So the sun, how it helps in terms of human beings, first of all, it gives us the heat and the light, without which we cannot live. Secondly, a very, very important part of the sun is that because of the heat, it evaporates the water from the vast bodies of the oceans. We have so many oceans around us. There are more salt water bodies on the earth than clear water. So all the salt water will be useless. We can't use it for drinking. We can't use it for irrigation. We can't use it for anything. But by the Lord's arrangement, the sun evaporates the ocean water. Not just that, but it distills it while it's doing it. So it's a massive distillation plant. And that water then is stored in the clouds. Then by the power of the wind, those clouds are moved over land from the seaside, from the sea and the oceans. And then it releases the water. And that water that leaves the clouds is the purest form of water. It's very, very pure. It only as it comes into the atmosphere and gets into the pollution, then it gets, and of course, by the time it hits the ground, it's completely polluted. But it's still fresh water. People can still use it. So this is the arrangement. How this arrangement has been made. Has it been just by accident? No. The whole thing has been designed. The Lord has designed the world this way. And this is why the power of the sun is there to supply us our necessities. Prabhupada says one sun illuminates and gives heat and light to the entire solar system. So each universe has just one sun. So you can imagine, we think, okay, this sun is heating up this earth, but not just the earth. The sun is heating up every planet. There's just a few examples here, but the sun is heating up every planet, and there are millions of planets in the universe. And the sun is heating up and giving light to each and every one of them. So scripture often compare knowledge to sunlight. There's a beautiful verse in the first chapter, 3rd canto, text 43. Krishna svadam upagatte dharma jnana adibi saha kalau nasta disham esha purana ko dunodita. The Bhagavad Purana is as brilliant as the sun, and it has arisen just after the departure of Lord Krishna to his own abode, accompanied by religion, knowledge, etc. Persons who have lost their vision due to the dense darkness of ignorance in this age of Kali shall get light from this Purana. So as it says, many other scriptures are also compared to the sunlight. So here the Bhagavatam, because Bhagavatam was spoken just after the Lord left. One of the main questions that the rishis were asking Sutta Goswami was that after Krishna's gone, where is religion? Where do we go and find religion and righteousness? So then this is where the Bhagavatam was spoken. So the religion and all the processes of religion are mentioned in the Bhagavatam. So it's as brilliant as light, and it gives light where there is darkness, ignorance. Lord Brahma, he calls the sun king of all planets, or he calls it the eye of this world. From Samhita 5.2.2. Yachakshuresha savita sakala grahana mama. Sorry. Chakshuresha Savita Sakala Grahana Namanam Raja Samasta Sura Murti Rashesha Teja Yasya Gyaya Brahmati Samvrita Kala Chakro Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. The sun, Lord Brahma says, the sun, who is the king of all planets, full of infinite effulgence, the image of the good soul, is the eye of this world. I adore the primeval Lord Govinda, in pursuance of whose order the sun performs his journey, mounting the wheel of time. The sun orbits in perfect orbit. It doesn't come even a few degrees nearer or a few degrees far, because if it came a few degrees nearer, we would all burn. A little bit far, we would all freeze. It's happening. Everything is so synchronized so perfectly. Not by chance, but it is said in this verse that in pursuance of Govinda's orders, the sun is doing its duty. Then Krishna talks about that he is the splendor of the moon. So in 7.8, we did a few months ago. Rasoham apsu konteya prabhasmi sasishurya pranava sarva vedeshu saptake paurusham nishu. O son of Kunti, I am the taste of water, the light of the sun and the moon, the syllable Om in the Vedic mantras. I am the sound in ether and ability in man. So here Krishna says, I am the light of the sun, confirming this particular verse that we're discussing today. So many places Krishna has described the sun and the moon. I am the energy, the light of this. And then in 10:21, Aditya na mahur Vishnu Jyotisham Ravir Amsuman Mariche Marutam Asmi Nakshatranam Aham Shashi. Of the Adityas, I am Vishnu. Of the lights, I am the radiant sun. Of the Maruts, I am Marichi. And among the stars, I am the moon. So the moon, the Vedas are saying, is actually one of the stars. It is a principal star. So this is how the Vedas explain the moon. The other stars are so far away that they just appear to us like twinkling. But the moon, we can see like a proper globe. But it is still, all the other stars are also similar globes. So the moon is very pleasing to the people, isn't it? When we have a beautiful moonshine, nice cooling, especially in a summer's day, when the moon comes out at night, it really cools us down. And it's so pleasing, something really nice about the moon. We can stare at the moon. See, the sun we cannot look at. We'll get our eyes damaged. But the moon we can keep staring at, and it looks so beautiful, something really nice about it. Not just that, it also, it will be explained later, it also nourishes the vegetables. That is the job of the moon. The moon gives the succulence to the vegetables. That we discussed in a couple of days in the verse coming up. Srila Prabhupada in the Shikshashtakam verse of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he translates this, I haven't put the whole verse here. It's Shreya Kairava Chandrika Vitararam Vidya Vadu Jivanam. So Prabhupada then explains that as the waxing moon from the day of new moon, the first day, it is just like a small curved line. But the second day, third day, it increases, Prabhupada is saying. Gradually it increases. Similarly, the spiritual life, the spiritual joyful life increases like the moon rays day after day, till it reaches the full moon night. The life then becomes full of knowledge. So see, knowledge has been described here with the moon in the Shikshashtakam verse, that it is Kairava Chandrika, this is the white rays of Chandrika, the moon, Vitaranam, increasing always, and with that, Vidya Vadu Jivanam, Vidya also increases with that. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also has been compared to the moon in this Adi Lila 1391. Akalanka Gaura Chandra Dila Darshana Sakalanka Chandreyar Kona Prayojan. When the spotless moon of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu becomes visible, what would be the need for a moon full of black marks on his body? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came here to give us knowledge, give the whole world Krishna Prem. So he is considered here as a spotless moon. Next we come to fire. Krishna says, you must understand the splendor of fire emanates from me as well. So we need fire to prepare foodstuff. We need fire to start the factory. Prabhupada is saying that in the purport, that we need fire to start the factories, etc., etc. So fire, the energy is needed as soon as you wake up. We cannot do without fire. So fire, again, just like the moon, is so attractive, isn't it? Sometimes you can stand by a bonfire or a holy fire on the day of Holi. And then you can stand there and just watch these flames, different shapes coming out and then disappearing. And it's just, again, mesmerizing. We can just keep looking at it. So as the fire is so attractive to look at, we can then understand that Krishna, the fire is attractive because Krishna is all attractive. So this way we can relate to fire more. So what can't we survive without in life? Let's just see. What is something that is absolutely necessary without which we cannot survive? Can anybody name one? I put down 4 here. Let's see how we can. There must be many different, but 4 main ones.
Air, water,
Air.
water.
Excellent.
Sunlight,
Sunlight, yes, that's coming.
and moonlight.
Moonlight also, that is there, yes. But we can't do without food, can we?
Oh, yeah.
Right. And so the thing is, now you can look at it. Air, of course, we cannot survive more than maybe a few minutes maximum without air. Water, perhaps we can go a day or 2 without water, maybe 3. When we do the Nirjala Ekadashi, we have no water for about 30 odd hours, and that doesn't seem to do any harm to us. Food, we can survive longer. Food, we can go without food for a week, 10 days. But then something which you mentioned also, sun and all that, it is said that without heat, after air, it should be heat actually, because without heat, you cannot survive at all. We would not be able to survive here without the heat of the sun. So the heat, if there was no heat of the sun, of course, there would be no life. So that's number 1. Number 2, the heat comes in 2 ways. We experience heat in 2 ways. One, directly from the sun or fire that we can feel on our skin. And the other way that we experience heat is through our digestion. So again, in a couple of verses, it talk about Vaishmanaro Bhutva, that there's a fire of digestion in every living entity's body. So because of, when we eat food, of course, the food itself has got energy. Food's got energy stored, again, from the sun. The plants take the heat from the sun through the system of photosynthesis, and then it is in the plant, that power, as well as in the fruits and vegetables. So when we eat that energy is released. So the heat is being released, and there's already the fire of digestion in our body. And that way we have our whole body gets heated. So externally from the sun and a direct touch to our skin, and internally we're getting heat in our body that we need internally as well, not to digest the food itself, but to keep our organs in order. So such complex way the arrangements have been made. So just as heat is, we cannot see heat, right? Heat is invisible. So to the conditioned soul, Krishna is also invisible. So this is how we can relate that, yes, just like we cannot perceive heat directly, we cannot perceive Krishna directly unless we become conscious. We get self-realized, then it will work. So heat transforms both the texture and the flavor. So when you put some raw food in a pot and boil it, the hard vegetables, potatoes, for example, if you have a potato, right, you cannot eat it raw, it's very hard. But when you put it and boil it, then it becomes softer, and also it releases whatever the vegetable is, it releases its own juices. So similarly, Krishna consciousness melts our stone-like hearts and fills it with rasas, mellows of love. So again, we can relate like this to heat, how it helps. Fire is compared to spiritual knowledge. 4:37. Yes, Yathaidamsi samidognir bhashmasat kurute juna yanagni sarvakarmani bhashmasat kurute tatha. As a blazing fire turns firewood to ashes, O Arjuna, so does the fire of knowledge burn to ashes all reactions to material activities. So, just as seeds, for example, if you fry some seeds, and if you put the fried seeds or roasted seeds on the ground in a garden, nothing will happen. They lose the power of germination. So similarly, the seeds of our material desires are burned by the fire of knowledge. So in such a conception of life, Prabhupada, this is from Prabhupada's purport, last 2 or 3 sentences, which are very, very powerful. He says, in such a conception of life, at the beginning of Krishna consciousness lies a great deal of advancement for the conditioned soul in the material world. So he's saying, just by getting to know this, just if we convince ourselves that yes, this, the sun, the moon, and the fire, we understand that it's not something happening by accident. There's power of Krishna behind it. That is the beginning of our Krishna consciousness. Then he says, without his mercy, there cannot be sun. Without his mercy, there cannot be moon. Without his mercy, there cannot be fire. And without the help of sun, moon, and fire, no one can live. These are some of the thoughts to provoke Krishna consciousness in conditioned souls. So, yeah, one thought that came to my mind while I was preparing for the class today is that Krishna is giving to all of us, right? All these facilities. I was thinking that if I was perhaps maybe helping somebody financially or maybe whatever, in any other way, if after a while I realize that I'm getting no acknowledgement, I'm not getting any gratitude from that person, my natural instinct would be that I'll stop because I'm not getting anything. It's just the person is taking me for granted. But imagine how merciful Krishna is. Krishna is giving us all these amazing facilities for life, and he doesn't care. He's giving it to devotees, but equally he's giving it to demons. He's giving it to people who forget him, people who want to forget him. He's even giving it to people who hate him. This is the amazing mercy of Krishna. Again, the other thing is how perfectly everything is calibrated. The moon, the sun, the air, movement of the clouds. Everything is so perfectly calibrated for our needs. Oxygen, carbon dioxide, how everything works so perfectly. We take in oxygen, the plants give out oxygen. They take in carbon dioxide. All that arrangement. Accidental? No way. Everything has been done by the mercy of the Lord for our benefit. So we have to learn to appreciate it and remember Krishna every time we are using some of his energies. So devotees will stop here. I will open for any questions, comments, realizations.
Prabhuji, can I ask a question, please? Hello?
Hare Krishna, we can't hear you.
Can you hear me?
Now we can hear you, yes.
Can I ask a question, please? It's about the moon.
Yes, please.
What is the special thing about the second day of the moon?
Oh, good question. I didn't realize there was anything special about the second day. Does anybody know in the group? Well, why do you feel there's something special about the second day?
When I was a little girl, every time I showed my dad the second day of the moon, he used to pray and give me £1.
Oh,
So I
okay.
thought if you might know,
No,
or anybody else know.
yeah, somebody else might know. Anybody else know about this? I didn't know the significance.
I didn't ask him. I wish I had now.
Yeah, sometimes we take things for granted and we regret afterwards not asking. You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I don't have the answer for that.
Okay. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So Jagruti Mataji is saying, Mercy of Krishna, soon as I thought I would like to read one day, and that day Rashmi Mataji called and asked me if I want to read chapter 15. And I said I struggled some words, but I still will read. And Rashmi Mataji encouraged me to read. Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you so much, Jagruti Mataji. Thank you for taking the courage to read. It is, I know it's.
Mercy of Krishna. That day I thought, and Rashri Mataji called me.
Thank you so much.
you.
Yes, thank you. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Anybody else? Hema Mataji is saying Krishna in the nectar of instructions, Krishna is the sun. Maya is darkness. Absolutely. Where there is sun, there is no darkness. Krishna, how does it go? Maya ra antakar. Jaha Krishna, taha nahi. Maya ra adhikar.
Prabhu Krishna, Surya Sama.
Yes, Krishna Surya Sama, Maya Andakar.
Yeah.
Jaha
Krishna,
Maya Adhikar. Exactly. So wherever there's the sun, or there is a knowledge of sun, there is no space, no room for ignorance. And if you are in the sunlight of Krishna consciousness, then Maya cannot touch you. Thank you for sharing that, Hema Mataji. Anyone else? Yeah, Hema Mataji also saying that's too, we take too much for granted. We are so much for granted. We never pause to think that all this coming from. We think it's free, everything is happening just by chance, by accident. But of course, we have to thank somebody for arranging all this for us. So. Anybody have anything to add? There's so many. This is so much we can speak about actually on this verse. Somebody can maybe have some realization.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Mamta Mataji.
Mamta Mataji, yes, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Sorry, I just come in between and I go. I'm just asking, like, obviously, by coming into Krishna consciousness, you're now knowing what is the importance of how we don't give a gratitude to Krishna and we just take all his resources and use and abuse it. About this global warming and your say on that, Prabhu. Global warming, all the ice melting away and waters. I mean, some places are getting dry and some places you have floods. So how do we relate this now in this?
So this is basically what is happening. If you read the Bhagavatam, in the Bhagavatam, Mother Earth, in the Prithu Maharaj's pastimes, Mother Earth had stopped producing. He stopped giving to human society. And when Prithu Maharaj found out, he got very angry. And the Mother Earth then says to Prithu Maharaj that because the human beings were completely out of control. So this is the situation now, isn't it? Okay, actually, the situation has been continuing since the beginning of Kali Yuga, but it's getting worse now, because what's happening is that we have become very, very greedy. Look at all the rainforests destroyed, just so they can get wood to make furniture and some nice things for our sense gratification. Right? We have the use of all these electrical and items which release all the gases which are depleting the ozone layer. So all this is in the name of advancement, material advancement. We are killing nature. And this is something that it's almost at a point of no return, really. And this is how the Mother Nature then reacts. Because how long can you do it? How long can you take it? So this is her revenge. And this is why, as we go forward, as Kali Yuga proceeds, the weather patterns are going to be very, very erratic. Not just erratic, but very unfavorable for human society. There will be floods, there will be famines and all that. And this is all going to happen, of course, in a very, very slow motion, but it's happening. We can see within the last 50 years how it's changing. So this is something that, even the natural, what you call them, conservationists, they've been shouting for years and years and years. But human society doesn't want to listen. We don't want to curb our greed. And this is what we're actually killing ourselves, killing the planet.
How can we reach to these people to make them realize that what we are doing? Obviously, they are doing it. Everybody in the world are doing it a different way.
Yes.
But how can we teach them and make them realize that?
So, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj one time mentioned that there is no shortage of anything on this earth. The only shortage is Krishna consciousness.
Consciousness, yes.
So imagine if everybody was Krishna conscious, if they realized about the gift of nature, if they read the Bhagavatam and then understood about nature, understood about how we are exploiting the earth unnecessary, and understand the idea of simple thinking, high thinking, simple living. Yeah, so that kind of thing, it can only happen if the whole world is Krishna conscious and we take this seriously. To be very honest, even Krishna conscious people, we also sometimes are blind to it. We know it in theory, but we still continue. But because it's the herd mentality, everybody's doing it, so I'll do it as well. But if every one of us, the responsibility is, it cannot happen. You see, the nations are trying to reduce their carbon footprint. And they got their targets, and even China recently, which is one of the worst polluters in the world, they also announced that by 2060 or 20 something like that, they will be zero carbon emission, which is a tall order for them. But the nations are trying, but the nations can only succeed if individuals cooperate.
But they're trying materialistically, na Prabhu.
No, they're trying. That's fine, because of course there's a lot of pressure from everywhere. But the point is, it is not going to happen unless the people become conscious and become. If the easiest way is to become Krishna conscious, and then you understand the Lord, you understand His mercy, you understand Mother Nature, and you understand your responsibility as a jiva.
Yeah, just take what you need, then what you want.
Exactly. So we are just too greedy as a society, and it's getting worse. It's just getting worse. It's, like I say, so very, very difficult to turn it around.
Thank you, Prabhu. Sorry, I just took a different topic, but thank you very much.
It's related. It's related. Yeah.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, isn't it true that the pollution which you see outside is a reflection of pollution internally? So it's a consciousness.
Yes, exactly. That's nice. It's very, very nicely put, actually, Prabhu. Yes, pollution, because we are polluted inside. Our hearts are not clean. If our hearts were clean, then Krishna would shine, and we would get knowledge, because knowledge is within us. So it will be revealed by the Lord if our hearts are not polluted. But our hearts are so dirty from so many lifetimes of living in a greedy way, being very, very lusty, And this way, yes, the outside, how we act reflects our internals.
Hare Krishna
It
Prabhu.
was Hare Krishna. Oh, sorry.
Hare Krishna Vidai Mata.
I just remembered Srila Prabhupada used to say, if you put a rice bag outside, pigeons will come and pick up very little. It's one. But our people, we will we will take everything one person. We will not think anything. And actually, before lockdown,
Yes.
that's what we'll do in the shops.
I was thinking the same thing actually, and I was just recently I was looking at some news, and it started again now because there's
Yeah.
the second wave coming. The shelves are
That's
getting
right.
again. So once again they'll be running around for toilet rolls and stuff like that. But
Yeah,
again,
our greed is still in for our greed, including me. I'm not different.
yeah, I think unfortunately yes.
Yeah.
Santosh Mataji has put a message there. Hare Krishna. And the purport, Krishna says all activities are initiated by him. What is the explanation when criminals do wicked acts? For example, last week a criminal shot dead a nice policeman performing his duty. I find it difficult to comprehend. Yes, so this is, thank you Santosh Mataji for raising the question. This is always asked, if Krishna is all good, then why is evil in this world? And this is always explained by acharyas that it's not that Krishna is yes, everything comes from Krishna in the sense that Krishna has set in motion this material world, which will give you the actions and reactions, and you will work under the three modes. So people working under these modes, they themselves have created the situation where they have ignored righteousness, have chosen the path of evil, and this way they are on this downward slide. So this is the mentality, and this is, again, we were speaking about free will last week. So free will, Krishna has given all of us the free will, so he will not take that away. So somebody wants to be evil, he eventually will be evil because that is his free will. Krishna will be actually within all of us. Whenever we try and do anything wrong, Krishna does try and stop us. Sometimes we call it instinct. Sometimes we say consciousness. Sometimes I would say that, oh, I was there and there was 50 pounds lying on the desk and there was nobody around. I really felt like taking it, but then my consciousness stopped me. We say that, right? So what is that consciousness? That consciousness is the Lord, Paramatma, speaking to you from inside. Don't do that, that's wrong. The point is, one who has the ear for that, one who has developed the ear to hear Paramatma will hear that. But the other person who has not been feeding that side of his life will not hear it. Paramatma is speaking, but he will not hear it. He will ignore it and still do it. So this way, this is the reason why this evil things are happening, because the living entity is misusing his independence and not listening to the Paramatma. And again, solution is Krishna consciousness, really. Sometimes people say, oh, you Hare Krishna is all, everything to you is just Krishna, 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 right? But it is a fact. It is a fact, right? You become Krishna conscious and your heart will change. We all have that experience. And once your heart changes, then evil will reduce. It will never go away completely, of course, we are in the Kali Yuga, but it will reduce. It can be drastically reduced. This is why devotees, let's get together, let's try and spread Chaitanya Mahaprabhuji's mission. Let's try and spread Prabhupada's books, because by spreading Prabhupada's books, we will be able to change people's hearts. Last week, Divyanam Prabhu mentioned about this new wonderful marathon. We're starting mini marathon about the Bhagavad Gita. Such a wonderful idea. Let's start. Let's just get on board, and the more we give them out, the more chances are people will open them and read them and become devotees. Krishnagi Mataji, I think she's on this call. She's already started. We haven't officially even launched the whole thing. We're still putting things together. But she called me a couple of days ago from the manor saying, I'm at the manor and I'm going to sponsor 15 sets. So this was the beginning. So she's made the we call it Boni in Gujarati. Boni has happened. So let us all get on the bandwagon and do that, because this is the only way. The more people can be convinced to have the consciousness cleansed by Krishna's knowledge, the more chances there are that at least for some time, Kali Yuga will, of course, will take its toll, but at least for some time, there can be some nicer times. So devotees is, oh my goodness, I'm sorry, I forgot, I didn't look at the time, it's almost 9 o'clock. I'm so sorry, devotees, sorry to take so long. But thank you, wonderful questions. Thanks for your participation. Look after yourselves. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Hare
Thank you,
Krishna.
Prabhuji.
Thank
Thank
you very
you.
much.
Prabhuji, thank you, Ruchi. Hare Krishna, everybody.
Thank
See you
you.
tomorrow, everybody.
Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you,
Hare
Prabhuji.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
See you on Thursday.
Hare Krishna.